we've seen disenfranchised Democrats. We've seen Democrats who are upset with Biden over his handling of Israel and his Middle East policy. Do you think this alone, Donald Trump becoming a convicted felon, will get those disenfranchised Democrats who are either going to sit this out or vote for a third party to say, hey, I mean, maybe I should vote, maybe I should get off the couch, maybe I should vote for Biden?
You know, look, I think that the Israel issue is such a tricky one for Democrats. I mean, governmentally, it's obviously very tricky, but politically, it's really become a single issue voter situation where there are people who are going to vote solely on what's going on. And I think that Biden has sort of been ham-handed in his approach to how he's been dealing with the crisis from day one, first coming out full-throated support for Netanyahu, for Israel, I think rightly in their ability to defend themselves. But then once Michigan happened, you sort of saw this pivot, and it looked political. Whether it was political or not, it appeared political. And since then, they've been trying to be all things to all people, and in doing so, in their effort to please everyone, they pleased no one. And so I don't think that this conviction is going to alter what's going to happen for those single issue voters who feel so passionately on either side of the Gaza or Israel issue. I think that they're going to do what they're going to do based on how they feel about the issue and not about Stormy Daniels.
You've been in politics for a long time, and if your competitor became a convicted felon, I mean, that sounds like a layup for anyone who is running against that person. But as we discussed, I mean, they're neck and neck in the polls. This could give Trump a boost. Are you surprised by any of this?
I mean, yes and no. It feels so incredibly surreal. You know, and I talk about this with reporters and interviews all the time. It almost feels like the kind of thing we would used to read about that would go on in third world countries in Latin America or South America. You know what I mean? Like, we are now in a situation where the major nominee for the one of two major parties in this country is a convicted felon. He has still 80 some odd, charges against him that are looming for future trials. You have the sitting president of the United States, his son is about to go on trial. And so, I think we're living through one of those moments where it's sort of the frog in the pot of boiling water where you don't even realize that it's happening. But 10 years from now, we're going to look back and say, I can't believe we lived through that insanity. But I think because there's been so much craziness starting, 2016, even a little bit before that, people have gotten so numb to it. It's almost like now when there's a mass shooting, it doesn't make front page news because people have gotten so used to like the constant activity around it. The same thing here. It's like people don't bat an eye. It's the front page of today's paper. Will it be tomorrow? I don't know. There's a good chance it won't. Something else will happen.
That's a really interesting point. I was talking to another reporter and I asked him, because Donald Trump has been involved in controversy, chaos for years now, almost a decade, the shock value has worn off and has worn off with the American people. Do you think that works to Donald Trump's favor?
I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's all because the shock value has made it so it's worn off. Biden will misspeak. He'll accidentally swap out one world leader's name for another. He'll recognize a member of Congress who's not at an event, and the news will talk about it for a day, and it'll become a referendum on his state of mind, and if he's senile, and is he too old for the job? And Trump does the same thing all the time, and people don't bat an eye because he's so normalized that's part of his shit. And so it's really interesting because he has made it so that he can be a convicted felon and still look to some people like he could very well be nominated again for president in 5 short months.